So what can we expect? Here to tell us what the future holds, sort of. We've got Mal Fletcher. Good morning, Mal.
Good morning, Lilley.
Lovely to have you in. What a very hirsute a young gentleman you are.
Well, to be called young at 62 is very nice. I'm going to come back more often. Thank you, Lilley.
You come back as often as you like. Let's talk about, well, do you know what? Shall we, let's reflect a little bit on the last decade and then we'll look ahead. I mean, it's been quite an amazing decade. It seems to be that it all sort of speeds up. Like I was saying yesterday, I had an iPod Nano that I was clearing out an old drawer. That was from, 2009. Technology really has been the headline of the last 10 years, would you say?
I think so. I think things like social media have really come to the fore. Although they existed a couple of years before the decade started, it's been a decade of social media and the evening out of opinion. So everybody now has an opinion, even if they don't have an experience to back it up.
Yes.
And that's changed politics, it's changed the way we do entertainment, it's changed so many things. And that's just one area.
Absolutely. So let's look forward now. That is your area of expertise, Mal. So 2020 and maybe a little bit into the future. We talk a lot here on BBC Radio, so just because we have some fantastic people of industry in terms of automated cars and things. So are our roads and the way that we travel, is that going to change, do you think?
I think it will. It already is. And I think it will change largely because of a thing called the Internet of Things, which many of our listeners would have heard about, but not seen in much evidence yet. In 2020, there's going to be something like 21 billion devices hooked up to the Internet around the world, and 9 billion of those will be part of what we call the Internet of Things, which is a whole range of sensors in everyday objects, from food packaging to medicine packages to factory machines. Even road surfaces will have these little devices hooked up to the net, sending and receiving messages to moderate the flow of traffic and in time perhaps even generate electricity to power streetlights.
That's fascinating. And I'm guessing that sort of web of satellites that's being launched over the next sort of year or so, that's going to help that, I imagine.
Yeah, some of it does. I mean, there'll be a downside to that. We'll have to get used to seeing more things like 5G phone masts around the place because new technology always brings a little bit of intrusion into the natural landscape. So we're going to have to be clever in how we negotiate that.
I feel slightly nervous about automated cars. I'm going to be honest here, Mal, just because they really have to talk to absolutely everything around them. I'm just thinking if I'm, travelling at 70 miles an hour on the M40 and we all have to come to an emergency stop right now. Do you have faith in this driverless technology that's coming?
Well, I do, but I have more faith in human beings, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think I like to say technology is not destiny. The future isn't a product of the techs we use. It's a product of how we choose to use them. Yeah. So as long as we don't lose the human element in things like automated cars, I think we'll be fine.
And will 2020 be the year that the robots take over? Mal, we're going to have to sort of start hugging little Jimmy the iRobot.
Well, I doubt that that's going to happen for many people. I think it will be a big year, though, for robotics and artificial intelligence in public venues.
Okay.
So, for example, in sports arenas, we'll have more people using biometrics to spot troublemakers before they get into the ground. Now, the problem with that is, of course, you've got to scan 1,000 good people to get the one potential bad apple in the crowd, as it were. But also airports, shopping centres might start using robot porters, waiters, greeters, are often used in Japanese phone stores now.
Yes, I saw that with a great Sue Perkins documentary. Yes. They're sort of greeted by robots, and she sort of got used to it after a while. It's a strange idea, but...
Yeah, I think especially when they're engineered to be what we call social bots, which are bots that are programmed to read your facial expressions, your voice tone, and therefore gauge emotion and respond in kind. So in Japanese aged care homes, in thousands of them, these what look like cuddly toys but are sophisticated robots are used to help people deal with dementia, anxiety, confusion, loneliness, because they respond empathically to emotion, or pseudo-empathically.
Really interesting. Well, stay right there. Don't go anywhere now. We need to talk more about the future and maybe have a little green tinge. The sort of everyone's thinking how to be more sustainable, more green. We will see about the future trends of that after. It's 2020 and we love that. It sounds really good. We're going to look ahead to the trends that we can expect both next year. Maybe we'll look a little bit further as well. We have Futurist Mal Fletcher with us. So technology, Mal. let's have us leaning for an environmental side of things. What can we expect on that side?
Well, I think people are looking for practical ways now to make a difference. You know, it's one thing to say that we're all going to be dead in 20 years. I don't personally believe that. But you can say that. Unless you engage the culture, you can't change anything. And people are looking for proactive ways now to change the culture's mindset, but also what we do with the environment. And one of those things, I think, will come from a surprising area, the area of holographic projection.
Okay.
A lot of money is spent every year on business-related travel.
Yes.
Yeah, I do a lot of flying, and you're always surrounded by business folks, and they're all going to conferences.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all burning fuel. But holographics will allow people in time, it's almost a commercial reality now because politics is using it, music concerts are using holographic projection. But as a commercial entity, it could allow people to be virtually cast into meetings on the other side of the world, in remote locations, which I think will mean a huge benefit for the environment.
I mean, I do remember my dad used to he was a salesman, so he was always in his car driving down to Sandwich or whatever. But he used to say that his American customers, I mean, they picked up the thing called the telephone Mal, because obviously they can't, if you're on the East Coast, you can't get to the West Coast. But I think the importance probably of holograms is maybe as Brits or maybe just as humans, we like to stare somebody in the eye when we're having a conversation, especially about business, I think. So
yeah, we do. I mean, there's nothing that will replace the ability to read biometrics. You and I are reading biometrics now and we don't even know we're doing it. Yeah. And we're sensing the other person's emotion. You can't do that through any digital means. Even holography doesn't allow that. But we're getting closer to that. It's sort of a very close second best.
Oh, I'm feeling a tiny bit Star Wars. Just imagine you sort of with your lightsaber holographs. Now, social media. It was a big part of the last decade, as you said, and I was talking to Professor Chris Lintott as well, because obviously it can be a force for good if we all come together and do a bit of citizen science or whatever, but can it be used to hold business and people to account, Mal, do you think?
Yeah, I think it can. In fact, I think that the companies that give us the platform, the big tech companies that provide that platform, need to be held to account. And I think there's a story even in one of the papers this morning, I think it was the Times, on the front page, about this very issue of big tech being held more accountable. Two areas in particular, I think, deep fake videos, which have only emerged in the last year.
Which we should say, they can make Barack Obama say things that he never said by pinning things on his jaw and using amazing computer wizardry. Yeah,
it's artificial intelligence matched with voice actors, human voice actors at the moment, but that could be automated too. And they could be used by terrorist groups, by anarchist groups, or just people that want to make mischief. But then you've got the problem of the mental health aspects of social media itself. And there's so much research now about the cognitive reduction that comes with an overuse of social media. I think that we're going to see the day, not too far away now, perhaps 2020, when big tech companies are treated a bit more like drug companies and told to put warnings on their products.
Interesting.
Yeah, because every time you use social media, there's a small injection of dopamine, which is associated with pleasure and anticipation. But small doses are fine, but put them all together and it can have the same impact as a big dose. It can become addictive. So that should be declared, in my view. And I think there's a growing pressure now on big tech to be more responsible. Yeah,
there are lots of people that I know as well stepping back, actually, just being socially aware of how long they're staring at a screen. Now, let's talk a bit about how technology and managing our money might come together in the next year or so.
Well, I think it's very interesting that just before Christmas there were studies here in the UK suggesting that people no longer borrow money after Christmas to pay for their shopping debts. They're now borrowing money just before Christmas to tide them through the Christmas season. That's a big change. And one of the contributing factors to that, I believe, is cashless payment systems, which for all their undoubted convenience, and I use them a lot, also encourage us to spend without forethought. Cash is messy. It's not always convenient to get hold of, but it has weight in your pocket. You can feel it waving goodbye.
Yeah.
Right? Cards don't change weight when you spend. Digital currencies on a screen are just ones and zeros. They have no weight. And I think there's a debate waiting to be had. I think this will be the year when we have it, about the benefits of cash as a backup to the ubiquitous cashless payment systems we have.
Interesting. Wow, we could talk for the whole decade, but we must draw it to a close. Really interesting. Any New Year's resolutions for you, Futurist Mal Fletcher? What are you going to do more or less of, do you reckon, in 2020?
Well, I hope that I do. I always hope this. I hope that I do more listening than speaking. That's not easy in my particular job, but I'd like to listen more and hear what other people are saying. I always have a New Year's resolution to read a lot more and a lot more widely, and I've had that since I was a child. But I think it's still important to me.
It is. I want to read some more as well. Thank you so much. We'll see if these trends come to fruition next year. Lovely to talk to you, Futurist Mal Fletcher. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.